Good morning and welcome to another Motivational Monday. My name is Matthew Hodge, Executive Vice President here at LPT Realty. And I'm joined every Monday by Robert Palmer, Founder and CEO. And if you are first time joining us, we welcome you to Motivational Monday, where we cover kind of the macroeconomic environment, what's happening overall in the industry, and then updates that are happening specifically within the brokerage. All right, well, let's go ahead and jump right in. We've got some stuff. I see you've brought some props today for Motivational Monday, so I'm going to
This is actually for my LPT Plus call later.
Okay.
So this is our bag of tricks for LPT Plus later, which is going to be cool. We got John Cheplak coming on to do a little mindset stuff with me. We're going to talk about some hands-on direct mail stuff and making envelopes openable, I guess, is kind of one of the things. So again, that's today at noon. Today, for the LPT Plus members. So that's been going really well. I've enjoyed that. You know, we're doing the 2 masterminds a week. Obviously got the amazing suite of tools, which alone brings the value. And then you couple that with the 2 trainings we're doing every week, bringing in special guests like John today. It's exciting, because really what we've kind of figured out is we need the right tools, but without the training, the right tools are worthless. Right. And so, we went out and put together the best possible suite of tools for LPT Plus, for that optional monthly fee, and then the training is just to make sure our agents know how to use them. Right. But a lot of people are finding more value in the trainings and the masterminds and the actual tools. So it's been a lot of fun.
That's great. Yeah, we talked about that a little bit on Real Estate First Friday, Lewis and I, last week. Just making sure that you understand what tools are available to you inside of LPT, and really just understanding even the collateral. So if you look at like the active marketing plan and the 9 critical questions and things like that, making sure that you understand what's in there. So as you're presenting them, you understand you're referencing those pieces. It's really important. A lot of people like the way that they look and they drop it off, but they don't really take the time to digest what's fully in there. So I'm happy that you guys are going deep on that with LPT Plus and figuring out how to actually utilize the tools. Okay, well, where are we starting today?
I guess we'll do a little bit of economic update. Sure. Rates still holding high. Yep. We've not seen any relief there yet, which is unfortunate. I guess, we're kind of hoping for that right economic data or right messaging from the Fed to see what's going on there. But rates continue to kind of creep back up. I think last I looked, we were getting close to that 3-month high, which is, again, not where any of us thought we were going to be. I have shelved my mortgage commercials for anyone who followed that whole thing. I got to run them for like 7 days, and then we took them off the air because rates started going the other way. And I've grown the beard back. So I'm not shaving again until rates fall. That's the plan. So that's been good. Look, we saw a lot of disruption. Obviously, still a lot going on from the hurricanes. September existing home sales numbers are going to be coming out here in the next week or so. I'm expecting them to be abysmal. I think September is going to set a new low watermark and surprise a lot of people for how few real estate transactions relatively were conducted. Obviously there's pockets of success, but just seeing a lot of pressure there. And then, again, because we got certain states that just can't transact right now.
Right.
So you have a lot of closings that were supposed to happen that last week of September in parts of Florida and parts of the Carolinas and parts of Tennessee and parts of Georgia that are still in limbo right now. And then some homes that they're going to have to be rebuilt or repaired if they can ever sell at all. And some listings just don't exist anymore. So a lot going on there. But it feels like we're tough, right? Like we're a tough community. We're a tough species. The human race is tough. Like we will build back. We'll come back stronger. And we're starting to see signs of that as people kind of put things back together from these 2 terrible storms. But it does impact our industry. Housing is really the big thing that's impacted. If you think about it, a lot of damage to homes, which means they can't transact, they can't buy, they can't sell. Other people are now going to have to buy and sell. We are looking at doing some, again, dedicated training classes around this. So we're going to get on that training calendar. I know Christina talked about it on Friday on the LPT Plus Mastermind. We're going to be doing the broader brokerage stuff this week, but just a lot of disruption there across our industry that we're all recovering from together.
I know that this is within 30 days of an election cycle, and I know that there could be transactions or people who are apprehensive to make a move right now because they're just, kind of maybe uneasy. Anything to kind of arm our agents with any thought process or ideology that they should be thinking about as they're explaining to someone why it's important to continue to move forward and not necessarily hold out?
I think patience is probably key. I think being that counseling arm, like, look, the election is imminent now, and at the end of the day, like, whether people get the result they want or not, within a few weeks after, most people will return to the market. And so I think it's just staying top of mind, staying in front of them, utilizing the print collateral, the things that we preach here all the time at LPT, because that's what keeps you top of mind. So when they do get back in the market, because they will, and we're adaptable. No matter how upset we are about that result, how apprehensive we are about that result, within a few weeks, life really does go back to normal for the most part. And so I think you're going to see people coming off of the fence. Rates would have helped. It would be a lot easier going into this kind of Q4 if we had those low 6s on the mortgage rates, high 5s we were hoping for. But we're going to persevere, man. We're going to put in the work. That's the thing. Like, LPT will not be outworked. I firmly believe that after just 2 years. And the more of that we do, the more we put in the work, the more we do the hard work, the more we're going to win, the more we're going to see the results. It's that the old adage adage, right? The harder I work, the luckier I get. And, we're going to come out the other side stronger, and whatever it looks like, because for every month rates stay high, for every month there is uncertainty, there's more transaction count, there's more opportunity waiting for us on the other side. And we're putting ourselves in a position to go take advantage of it. So I think that's massive.
Okay, awesome. Well, let's go ahead and move on to the next topic. Are we doing state?
We're going to talk about, so I pulled a little something out of my book, Listing Power.
Okay.
We have been a lot of talk about leads lately. And while some of this was spurred on by us launching LPT Plus, it is applicable to everyone inside the brokerage. And so I thought this was interesting because I really haven't talked about this a ton inside of LPT. When I wrote my book back in 2016, Listing Power, 11 Rules for Real Estate Success, one of the ideas I had in there was this idea of a Mickey, M-I-C-C-I, motivated individual with correct contact information. Because I hated the idea of leads. Like, what are leads? What does lead even mean? And, you get these pay-per-click leads, and it's like Mickey Mouse 123 at gmail.com. Right. Like, is that a lead or not? And then on the flip side, you get people who maybe they're just browsing on the internet. They have no real intention of doing any business. They are sitting at home in New York, and it's snowing, and they hate their life, and they like looking at houses in Florida. Like, are they actually motivated? And then do you have their correct contact information? So the whole idea in the book is to really drive people into this idea of, when we're talking about a lead, what we really need is, we need a motivated individual, and we need their correct contact information. And if you don't have those two things, then I would challenge you that you really don't have a lead at all. Mm-hmm. And so I originally just kind of wrote that as a concept. And then in the last couple of weeks, as we've been working through some of these things, and as we're getting ready to launch the Leads Connect program, next year, that I talked about on our special, was that Labor Day yep. Motivation Monday, where we talked about Aperture and Leads Connect and Ascend Initiative, kind of dusting some of that off, getting ready. This Mickey concept came back up. And so I'm actually taking it one step further, and we're turning it into a scale. And so if we can go to the next slide, Dave. So as we think about this as a scale, because it really comes down to, all right, motivated individual, I get that. But what does that really mean, right? How motivated are they? And how do we know? How do we know they're motivated? And so these are two things I want to dig into and kind of talk through. All right, when we think about different types of leads, you got Zillow leads, you got Ojo leads, you got direct mail leads, you got Sphere leads, you got prospecting leads, farming leads. Like, there's all these different kinds of leads. How motivated are they? And how do we know that they're motivated, right? And this is where I think in some cases we make this incorrect assumption that just because someone is on a home search site looking at houses, that they're motivated. And that's a stretch. Zillow has created this whole culture of people who just like to look at houses on the internet. Like, it's like a sport, like right. It's a game, it's a thing. Like, hey, I'm a house scroller. It's fun for me. Like, if you look at Zillow Gone Wild, that social media account went viral because people just like to look at houses, right. People, they scroll their Facebook feed and they go scroll Zillow. And so part of the problem is, that's not really a clear indication of motivation. And right. So again, I'm not here to give you all the examples that are, but what I want to challenge you to do is think differently, right? When you do receive a lead, how motivated are they, and how do you know they're motivated? And are we using a false assumption to decide that someone is motivated? And if you think about it, 70% of all U.S. citizens visit Zillow in a 60-day period. Mm-hmm. So does that really even show any level of motivation or not? And so Zillow figured this out. They don't turn it into a lead anymore until the person is actually like, yeah, I'm ready to talk to a real estate agent, because that shows motivation. So it's not that people who are shopping on Zillow are more or less motivated than people who are shopping on Realtor or an agent's independent IDX site or whatever that is. The difference is Zillow is waiting until they actually get them on the phone and they say, yeah, I want to talk to an agent. I'd like to buy a house. I'd like to sell my house. Some other indicator of motivation before they turn it into a quote unquote lead. And I think that's the big jump, because then if you look at agents who maybe run their own IDX site, everything is considered a lead. Mm-hmm. And just because someone is searching and you made them put in their email address before they could see the photos or whatever you're doing to get them to give you that information, I would argue there is no motivation there.
Right.
So is that a Mickey? Is that a lead at all? Whatever. And so again, just a concept that I really want you guys to think about. Are they motivated? And how do we know? Or what's the sign or the activity that we're basing this assumption of motivation on? And is it an accurate one?
Right.
Because I'll tell you, just searching homes on the internet is no longer a sign of motivation. So that's the first part, motivated individual, as we're looking at the Mickey scale. Then the second part of that is correct contact information. So do we have correct contact information? And what correct contact information do we have? All right. And so one of the things that I take a little counterintuitive on. So if you look at my list here, I've got local address as the best. Like if I had to pick just one piece of contact information for a lead, I would take their local address because now I can mail them, I can pop by. If I have a listing in their neighborhood, I know they're geographically relevant to me. There's a lot of weapons I can use, and they're unique to me as a local person. Like Zillow doesn't have a great strategy for activating on someone's address. Zillow's living on the email address world, which I would argue is kind of the worst, right? And that's where you're competing. I'm the guy that always wanted the local address. And going way back to my early mortgage days, like I get a mortgage lead, I'll go to your house. Like I'll knock on your door. I will drop a package off. I used to steal the FedEx envelopes and put marketing collateral on them and leave them on people's front doors. Like I would go to your house. You would not outwork me. Like you give me a local address, I get to go to work.
Yeah.
And so to me, that is the best correct contact information. Now, I think our industry has gone the other way. If you ask most people in the industry, they would tell you, I'd rather have an email address.
Right.
Now, why is that? I think it's because we are all inherently lazy. and it's very easy to work a lead with an email address because you're like, oh, I got their email address. I'm auto-enrolled on a smart plan. It's going to email them for me. I don't have to do any actual work, but I got this lead, and the magical email, monster is going to work it for me inside of my CRM. Versus like, oh, I have a home address. Like, what am I going to do with this? Like, you want me to go to their house? Like, I want you to go do the work. So again, to me, if I had to just pick one piece of information, right, it's like I would take that local home address. Then the second thing would be a cell phone number for me, because if they're not local to me, then the address is less valuable. It's still more valuable than an email, but it's less valuable. Top of the funnel for me, like best correct contact information, local address. Second thing, if I have to get just one, would now be a cell phone number. Because now I can call them, I can prospect to them, right? After that would be an out-of-state address. I would take an out-of-state address over an email address only, too. And because in the out-of-state is less valuable to me, because now I can't just show up at their house. I can't go steal a FedEx envelope and put some marketing collateral in it and drop it off on their front door. I can't invite them to an event that is geographically relevant to their house or whatever, because they're out of state. So this is my order of the best to the worst kind of correct contact information, out-of-state address, and then find the email address. And one of the interesting things I would challenge people on is like, if you're paying like, I don't know, what's a pay-per-click lead these days? Like $15,
Yeah,
$18? All right.
If you're doing well.
And maybe just an email address is all you're getting on that, right? Because you get some pay-per-click leads where you don't even get the phone number. You
Correct.
Get a failing number.
You can enable that to have both, but yeah.
It's all it is, right?
Yeah.
So let me tell you, you don't need to pay $8 to get somebody's email address or $15 to get somebody's email address. You can get email addresses for like super cheap, and like the whole idea of email marketing, I think, is like if email addresses are like pennies and there's no cost to send the email, like why do we even care if it's a motivated individual or not? Like we're just going to spray and pray. And I guess that's really what I want you guys to think about is with the Mickey scale, it's really the two moving inversely, right? Like if they're less motivated, and you probably need better contact information because you're going to have to move them down the funnel. If they're more motivated, worse works. But on the flip side, too, if you have no motivation and crappy contact information, like what was the point?
Right.
You could have just like sprayed and blasted everybody. And this is how I think about it. And when I wrote the book back in the day, and this is continued to develop. And as we build out the Leads Connect program, which is coming in Q1, and a lot of the thought processes that have gone into LPT Plus are really built around this idea. And so, I would take the local address over any of it. Yeah, and look, I see somebody putting spam in there. Like, absolutely. Like, spam is not a good idea. Spam is not a great way to build your business. My point is, like, that's how a lot of people are running these email leads. Like, it really just becomes a spam trap. Like, somebody went to your email. Think about that, like, worst case scenario. You have someone who is not motivated at all. They just want to look at pictures of houses. And then all they gave you was their email address. Like, was that worth anything? Is that worth $2, $3? It's probably not worth anything, right? Where on the flip side, if you are motivated and I have your home address or I have your cell phone number, now I can actually go to work. And again, the more motivated you are, the higher quality the lead is. The less motivated you are, that's all right. I'm still going to nurture you. I'm still going to show up at your house. I'm still going to send you direct mail. I'm still going to send you letters. I'm going to send you some of these ugly envelopes and stuff that's here next to me.
Right.
And so, again, this concept of Mickey, and we're going to do a lot of training around this as we move into next year. But this really is how I want people to think about leads, because if we just say, well, leads, a lead's a lead. How do I get leads? Where do I get leads? This person will give me leads. That person doesn't give me leads. This brokerage has leads. That brokerage doesn't have leads. This team has leads. Leads alone means nothing. Like, you really got to dig into this Mickey scale and understand how motivated are they? What is the source of that motivation? And then what is the contact information I have? How valuable is it? And so I'll probably do a whole training class on this inside of Connect 2.0 when we get it launched here in the next couple of weeks. This would live beautifully inside of the marketing circle.
Yeah, it would.
But and look, I know it's something you and I have talked a lot about. I mean, because really, when you were heavy into real estate business is when I was writing the book.
That's right.
And I know we had a lot of conversations about the Mickey.
I mean, it was a couple key concepts that you had that I thought really changed kind of the trajectory of my career. There was one, which is, hey, you can control how much money you make by controlling your price point. It is something that you can actually pull a lever on. Like, yeah, maybe we are passionate about a specific style of home, but if you're stripping that away and you're looking at just the financial benefit, like, hey, if you sell more expensive houses, you will make more money. And so aiming resources to have that happen in a organized and strategic way was critical for me. And then that same concept as well, which is not about just having tons of leads and contact information because you feel like you're doing something because you're sending out these emails. It's really having a smaller batch of workable leads.
Right.
And that is really where you'll start to see real traction and growth. It actually is quite scalable. You can pretty much build your entire business off of this grassroots style of marketing. If you run a team, your team members should be doing this, and it will give you that additional stream of income, in addition to some of the things you may add as a supplemental, like third-party leads and things like that. So absolutely critical. So I'm happy to see that you guys are going to be going at this information.
Yeah, look, and I think the real benchmark for me has always been like some of you are old enough to remember these things. The phone book, the telephone company used to give us a free list of all the leads in our area, right?
Yeah.
The phone book. And I think at the end of the day, like if you're buying leads, if you're getting leads, if you're paying a referral fee on leads, whatever that looks like, how is it better than the phone book?
Right.
I mean, that's really what the Mickey scale, I think, is trying to get people to understand. Like, is it better than the phone book? If all you have is an email address, that's probably worse than the phone book. If all you have is an out-of-state address, that's probably still close to worse than the phone book. Cell phone number, now we're starting to get, with motivation, now we're starting to move beyond the phone book.
Yeah.
But like the phone book, like, back in the day, like grab the phone book and start calling people, right? I mean, obviously there's do not call scrubbing. There's a lot of stuff that goes into that. But if you're getting quote unquote leads, it should do better than the phone book. And what I find is a lot of lead sources are not any better than the phone book, because again, it's either no motivation or false motivation. And then it's this idea of like bad contact info or very low quality contact info. At least with the phone book, you knew the phone number was right. Right, like when Bell South put out the white pages or whatever, and it was like Matt Hodge with a number there, like I was going to get you.
Gonna get me.
Where like with an online lead, who knows? I may get fake phone numbers, fake email addresses. So make sure whatever you're doing is better than the phone book.
Yeah, and we recently had a conversation with a coach who argued that you could call 100 randomly out of the phone book and have 100, PPC leads, and they would have pretty similar results. So
and so I think back to that point is then those PPC leads that he's measuring against would have a very low score on the Mickey scale. They weren't actually motivated. Because one of the interesting things is, I guess Google, when you do pay-per-click leads, and you tell Google, I want you to optimize for conversion. Right. Well, that may sound like I want to optimize for people who actually want to buy houses, but what it actually means is they're going to optimize you for people who like to fill out forms, right? Because that's all the conversion is. You're telling Google, go find me the people who are most likely to put any information at all into a web form. And Google's very good at that. Google knows who has that fake email address ready to go, who has that phone number that's fake ready to go, because those people will fill out any form. Form pops up, they type in their fake information, they hit go, and then Google gives them a gold star for being highly likely to fill out a form. But we don't want people that are highly likely to fill out a form. We want people that are highly likely to transact real estate. And unfortunately, Google doesn't necessarily know who that is. That may be people who are even less likely to actually transact real estate. And so I think the trap that most pay-per-click falls into, because that's probably the most ubiquitous, easiest form of like buyer marketing is like, hey, I got my IDX site, the pop-up registration happens, I'm going to run some pay-per-click leads. Most likely, whoever's building out those pay-per-click campaigns is optimizing for conversion, which means from my testing, the people who are most likely to put in fake information because they don't view the form as any type of barrier. Rather, they would rather not fill out the form at all. Because otherwise, everyone would just fill out the form. Well, I want that person. I'd rather have the person who is hesitant to fill out the form because they're not going to lie in the form. But now I got to provide more value, have a higher lead cost, whatever. So in that case, I agreed with him that, 100 optimized for conversion, crappy, fake information, pay-per-click leads probably is no better than just calling 100 random people out of the phone book. Or door knocking 100 random houses. I'll put door knocking 100 random houses way above. You take the time to go put a door hanger and an active marketing plan or whatever on 100 people's doorsteps, you will get better results than calling 100 people out of the phone book. And I think you'll get better results than a poorly built out pay-per-click campaign that is optimized for people who like to fill out forms, not people who want to buy or sell real estate. What is their actual motivation?
And then you have at least the address, the contact. I mean,
Well,
you're
yeah.
there. All right, cool. All right. Well,
So next week we're going to be doing a special Motivation Monday from Miami.
it's going to be close to his
So
birthday.
my 45th birthday is October 26th, Saturday. So Saturday I'm going to celebrate my birthday here at home with the fam, and then Sunday we're rolling down to Miami. We're going to be having some aperture meetings and things, and I'm going to take no closing costs down there, and we're going to be in Miami for a couple of days, having lots of meetings and again spreading the good LPT word, starting to spread some aperture word, all those great things. And so again, this month is just rolling through. But anyway, we have some state openings. We've already opened some states in October. We got the big one, California, which I'm going to commit to some deadlines today.
All right.
So let's jump into it, Dave. All right. So Indiana, Mississippi, Wyoming, and Montana are all open. There's a couple exciting states in there. Montana's near and dear to my heart.
Yeah.
I'll be heading there in December. California, we moved from delayed to on time with an October-November date, and I'm going to explain what that means. Ohio, we moved to on time for November. And then I think the rest of the list is pretty much the same. Oregon, North Dakota, South Dakota, Kentucky, Minnesota, Nebraska. November is going to be busy. Oklahoma, Utah, Washington, New Mexico, New Jersey, New York. December. I've actually got like 4 more states I'm kind of working on behind the scenes. I mean, we may just open all 50. We'll draw straws to see which of the 49 gets left behind. But yeah, at this point, like we're just going to open them all. Like we've been working really hard on infrastructure the last probably 3 to 4 months, making sure that we are ready to just blitz this thing. You know, I told you guys like when we had the little hiccup in March where we were behind on staff because I thought we were going to get busy in May and we got busy in March. So we made sure, like, we are ready. We have amazing teams, regionals. Like, we've done so much work behind the scenes getting people ready for this big state blitz. At this point, we're probably good to just get them all launched. Yeah. So I know you're having some conversations about some New England states. We're having some conversations around Alaska and Hawaii. But yeah, all those states are open. I see Chris Smith. Go wild, man. Let's fire it up. Let's get all the Indiana agents you can find. Go in Indiana, Mississippi, Wyoming, Montana. Good to go. So California, what are we doing here?
And the wait is finally over. The fastest growing brokerage in history is coming to California. Robert Palmer, the visionary founder, waited. He waited for the perfect moment to pull the trigger. And that moment is now. We're ready. We're coming to say hello. The California Dreamin'. Join us in San Francisco. The California Dreamin' Tour. California, we have arrived.
So we'll make the video available on the 28th because that is when we are soft launching California. Let's get to that slide. You got that slide for me, Dave, with the dates on it? All right, so this is what the California launch is going to look like. October 28th, we're going to soft launch. So any agents that have been on our wait list, any agents who have already executed ICAs, they are going to be able to start onboarding on October 28th. They'll be able to onboard their teams on October 28th. We're going to get them ready because they've been waiting patiently, some for like 2 years on that waiting list. Then on November 13th, we're going to officially launch California for all the people that are not currently on the waiting list to then go wild and start recruiting. November 18th is going to be the beginning of the California tour. Michael Valdez and some other members of the executive team are going to be heading out to California to go from city to city and help our agents spread the good word. We will make the video available on October 28th because we don't want it out there until we soft launch the state. October 28th, the first agents will be able to onboard. If you are on the waiting list, if you're watching this right now and you are excited and ready to go, know that you can start pulling your license over to LPT on October 28th. All right, anybody who's on the waiting list can join on October 28th. Otherwise, they will have to wait until November 13th. So I guess theoretically you could get people to join the waiting list now, and then they could onboard on October 28th. Yeah. But if they're not on the waiting list by then, they'll have to wait until November 13th.
Okay. All right.
That's how it's going to work. When you guys want to start recruiting people is up to you, but they will not be able to onboard until the 13th if they didn't get on the waiting list before October 28th.
All right.
And then be ready for November 18th because that's when we're going to really get out there and make a lot of noise with the events.
Awesome. Excited for that, man. California is just one of those ones where, I don't know.
It's the highest volume real estate sales state. You know, like Florida has a little edge on it by agent count, but California has higher price points. The transaction count is up there. It's a big one. Like, you know, they literally say a real estate company cannot win unless it wins in Florida, Texas, and California.
Yep.
We've already dominated Florida. We are winning in Texas at a high level, and now we're going to go win in California. And that's right. A big part of paving the path forward for LPT.
Awesome. Okay, well, it seems like we are about at time. Any kind of final thoughts, or what should we be thinking about going into this week?
Yeah, look, guys, do the work, right? Get out there, continue to do the work. I know we have a lot of consumers saying, well, I want to wait till after the election. I want to wait for rates to come down. That does not mean you wait. That means you continue to take action now. All right. That means you continue to get out there and meet with your consumers, talk to your clients, check on your people, get your active marketing plans and 9 critical questions and 7 home buyer strategies and all of the amazing printed collateral that we've built for you here at LPT. Do the work, take the action, because the result will come. All right. Stay focused on the actions you take. That's the piece you control, and have faith and believe that the result will come, because we all know it will. Yep. And we are in this super delayed gratification window right now because of where rates are, and again, the election and home prices, and just a lot of doom and gloom with the consumer when it comes to our sector.